Welcome to Life Stories, where the people we're meant to love sometimes find us in the most unexpected ways. Imagine walking through a grocery store, tired, distracted, your mind on almond milk, when a stranger taps your shoulder and says, "Your daughter is beautiful." You laugh, confused. You don't have a daughter. But when you turn around, there's a little girl staring up at you, holding your hand like it's always been hers, and whispering one word that unravels your entire life. Mom. What do you do when a child you've never met looks at you like you're her whole world, and no one else is coming for her? This is a true story about grief, blood, and belonging, about the kind of love that doesn't ask permission, but refuses to let go. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to a quiet Sunday afternoon that changed everything. Claire Reynolds had just made it to aisle 9 when she felt the tap, gentle, almost hesitant, like someone trying to break through a fog without shattering it. She turned, expecting a store employee or maybe a frazzled mom asking where the oat milk was. But instead, a woman with kind eyes and wind-blown hair offered a tight-lipped smile and said, "Your daughter is beautiful." Claire blinked. "I don't have a daughter." The smile faltered. Confusion washed over the woman's face as she glanced behind Claire. "She's been following you since the park. I just assumed." Claire's stomach tightened. She turned slowly, as if expecting to find some mistake standing behind her. But there she was, a girl, maybe 5. Brown curls frizzed around a scrunchie, a faded purple sweatshirt with a unicorn whose horn was peeling. In one hand, a worn-out stuffed bunny, and in her eyes, something soft, something unsettling. She took a step forward and slipped her tiny fingers into Claire's hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Can we go home now, Mom?" Claire's mind stuttered. She crouched, forcing a calm she didn't feel. "Sweetheart, I think you're confused. I'm not your mom." The girl didn't flinch, just nodded like she'd heard that sentence before and never believed it then either. "Come on, we should go now." Claire glanced around. No one else seemed to notice except the woman who had first approached her, still standing awkwardly a few feet away, now looking uncertain if she should stay or retreat. "She's been behind you since you left the park bench," she said, voice lowered. "I thought she was with you." Claire forced a smile, her pulse hammering. "Thanks for saying something." The woman nodded and ducked down another aisle. Claire turned back to the girl, still holding her hand, still steady, still, certain. "Okay," Claire breathed. "What's your name?" A long pause. Then, soft as a breath, "Eliza, do you know where your parents are?" "You are," she said, and her grip didn't change. Something in Claire's chest cracked. This wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't a game. This child believed it, every inch of her. Claire walked them to the front desk, trying to keep her voice neutral. "She says I'm her mother, but I've never seen her before." The store manager looked up, startled. Security was called. A young guard named Mitch escorted them to the back office, where Eliza sat on a chair beside Claire, refusing juice, ignoring questions. She leaned into Claire's arm like she belonged there, like she had for years. Police arrived. Questions followed, names, addresses, whether Claire had any younger relatives or neighbors. She repeated it all. No kids, no partner, no siblings except Rachel, who had been gone 6 years. And then the photos were taken. The report filed. But Eliza wasn't in any system. No missing person bulletin. No Amber Alert. Nothing. A social worker named Jackie arrived with a clipboard and a tired smile. "She'll be placed somewhere safe for the night. There are protocols." Claire's throat tightened. She doesn't even look at anyone else. Jackie hesitated. "We've seen this before. Trauma makes kids attached to strangers sometimes." "I'm not a stranger to her. I understand. But unless you're family," she said again. Claire's voice cracked before she could stop it. She said, "Please don't leave me again." Jackie blinked. Again? Claire's eyes burned. Yes. Eventually an exception was made. A kinship hold. Paperwork. Fingerprints. A crash course in emergency foster placement. Claire didn't even know what she was signing, only that when Eliza wrapped her arms around her, it felt less like being chosen and more like being recognized. But the twist didn't come until the next morning. Detective Carson called. "We ran a cross-reference on the DNA sample. Didn't expect much, but something came up." Claire gripped the steering wheel tighter. "What do you mean?" You're not her mother, he said, but you're biologically related. Her breath caught. Strong partial match. Most likely, you're her aunt. Silence. Then, Rachel? Claire whispered. She had a child? Carson sighed. According to hospital paperwork tied to Eliza's social security record, yes, the mother's name was Rachel Whitmore. No mention of a father. No record of adoption. Just a gap. Claire couldn't move, couldn't breathe. All the late-night calls, the disappearances, the lies Rachel told as she unraveled, all of it had hidden this. A child. A life. A girl with Rachel's eyes and her quiet hum. Rachel had vanished. But Eliza had found her way home. What would you do if a stranger called you mom, and then the DNA proved they were family? Could you love a child born of silence, secrets, and a sister's hidden grief? Somewhere between aisle 9 and the edge of a broken past, Claire discovered that motherhood might find you when you least expect it, and that sometimes the person looking for home is already holding your hand. Claire didn't sleep the night she found out. Not really. She sat in the doorway of the guest room, the one she'd barely used except for storing books and Christmas lights, watching Eliza's small frame fall beneath a soft flannel blanket. The girl had curled up instinctively, thumb tucked near her mouth, her stuffed bunny crushed under her arm like armor. She looked peaceful, trusting, and it wrecked Claire. Rachel had a daughter. Rachel, who disappeared into her own darkness, who'd sworn she was getting clean, who hugged Claire too long and cried too easily those last few months. She'd said nothing. No calls, no hints. Claire had grieved her sister's death for 6 years, and now here was Eliza, living proof that Rachel hadn't just died with secrets. She had left one behind. Claire stood, finally, and paced the kitchen in bare feet, arms folded tight across her chest. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Any update? Everything okay? Claire stared at it for a long moment before typing back, I need to talk to you. Tomorrow. By the time morning came, she'd made pancakes she didn't eat. Eliza nibbled quietly, still humming as she colored at the kitchen table, the same slow melodic rhythm Claire hadn't heard since childhood. She didn't tell her to stop. The meeting with the caseworker, Jackie, was brief. Routine questions, logistics, paper trails. They'd cleared Claire for temporary custody. Eliza could stay. But the real storm came that afternoon when Claire drove to her mother's house and sat on the floral couch she once hated as a teenager. Susan Reynolds stood near the window, her hands twisting the edge of her sweater, lips pressed into a line. Claire had texted her an hour before. Rachel had a daughter. She said nothing at first, just stared out the window. Then, without turning, Susan whispered, She never told me. Claire's voice was hoarse. She never told me either. The silence between them was brittle. I would have helped, Susan said suddenly, spinning around. Her eyes were red, not from fresh tears but years of old ones. God, Claire, if I had known. She didn't trust us, Claire said. Or maybe she thought she didn't deserve to. The words sat between them like smoke. Claire told her everything she knew. The man in Eugene, the wife who had a stroke, the missing paperwork, the hospital's mistake, and how Eliza had walked out of that life, crossed who knows how many streets, and somehow found her. Susan sat slowly. Does she know who I am? Not yet. I'd like to meet her. Claire nodded, but her chest tightened. That old ache, that quiet suspicion that her mother had always loved Rachel more, crept back in, sharp as ever. She shoved it down. Driving home, Eliza fell asleep in the back seat. Claire kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror, trying to reconcile the calm face with the chaos that now buzzed under her skin. Back at the house, Claire finally opened Rachel's old storage box, the one she hadn't touched in years. It was shoved in the top of her closet, hidden behind spare linens and gilt. She sat on the floor, cross-legged, and dug through faded photos, half-burnt letters, a necklace Claire had once gifted her sister for Christmas, still in its box. At the bottom, folded tight, was a sheet of paper. It was a printout from an online forum, a support group. The timestamp read 8 years ago. Claire scanned the page, her heart dropping with each sentence. I can't tell my family. They'll judge me. I'm barely holding on. I don't even know if I can raise her. It wasn't signed, but it didn't have to be. She knew Rachel's writing style, her phrasing, the way she looped guilt around truth like ribbon. Claire sat still for a long time. Then she stood, crossed the hallway, and cracked Eliza's door open just enough to peek inside. The room smelled like lavender. The nightlight glowed faintly. Eliza stirred once but didn't wake. Claire backed away and leaned against the wall, pressing her palm to her chest as if she could calm the storm inside. Her sister had been drowning, and no one saw it, not deeply enough. And now Eliza, this quiet, thoughtful, haunted child, was the ripple left behind. And then the phone rang. It was Detective Carson. "We found something else," he said, voice grave. "It's about Eliza's biological father." Claire's knees buckled and she slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. "What about him?" "He's not listed on any records, but someone filed for guardianship over Eliza 2 years ago and was denied. He disappeared after that. But yesterday, he filed a missing child report, in person, under a different name." Claire's mouth went dry. "He's coming forward now, and he's claiming she was taken from him. What would you do if the person who abandoned a child suddenly demanded them back, and the law might just let them? As the past claws its way into the present, Claire will have to decide whether blood or love defines a family, and how far she's willing to go to protect what's already hers. Don't miss what unfolds next." The man's name was Tyler Grant. He showed up 3 days after the call. Smooth khakis, expensive shoes, that kind of blazer people wear when they want to look credible but not try too hard. Claire watched him through the glass wall of the CPS conference room, her hands curled tight in her lap. He didn't look like a monster. He looked ordinary, clean-shaven, hands folded, calm, and somehow that made it worse. The agent beside her, Jackie, leaned closer. "He says he's Eliza's biological father, that he was denied custody 2 years ago due to inconsistencies in his background check." Claire stared ahead. "So why now?" Jackie sighed. "He says he didn't know where she was placed, that no one told him Rachel died, and that when he found out she was in the system, he filed immediately." Claire's voice came out flatter than she meant. "He says." They let Tyler speak with her, supervised, of course. Claire sat silently across the room while he knelt by Eliza's chair and offered her a soft smile and a small pink backpack. "Hey, kiddo," he said, voice gentle. "You probably don't remember me. That's okay. I've been looking for you." Eliza didn't take the bag. She didn't even look at him. She slid closer to Claire, her fingers tangling into the hem of her cardigan. Tyler's face tightened for the briefest moment before smoothing again. "You've gotten so big." When he left, the room smelled faintly of cologne and disappointment. That night, Claire barely spoke. She sat on the edge of her bed, watching Eliza draw suns and crooked little houses at the kitchen table. The girl hummed quietly, as always, filling the room with that strange, soft lullaby that once belonged to Rachel. Claire wanted to hate Tyler for waiting too long, for suddenly caring when it was convenient. But part of her, some fragile, broken part, wondered, what if he's not lying? What if he really did want her? What if Eliza deserves the chance to know him? The court hearing came fast, too fast. The judge was fair, kind even, but the law didn't bend for sentiment. Tyler had rights, newly granted by a second petition and a clean record. He had a steady job in real estate, a house, letters of recommendation, and now he wanted visitation. Claire sat through the hearing with Eliza beside her, holding her hand so tight it turned red. The judge acknowledged the bond they'd formed, praised Claire for stepping in, but also said words that felt like knives dressed in civility. "We cannot ignore biological parenthood," he said. "We will allow temporary, supervised visits and reevaluate full custody in 6 months." Claire didn't cry until she got home. She waited until Eliza was asleep, curled into the corner of her bed with her bunny clutched to her chest, before she broke. She pressed her face into the pillow and let it come, hot and bitter and aching. She had done everything right. Every form, every inspection, every sleepless night and doctor's visit and crayon-scribbled note taped to the fridge, but it still might not be enough. And then 1 week later, Tyler missed his first visit. He sent a text, vague and apologetic, something about work running late. Then a second no-show. Then silence. CPS contacted him. No reply. Claire checked his background again, this time more carefully. She found an arrest record buried under a sealed alias. 2 states over. He had lied about who he was, where he'd been, and why he wanted Eliza. It unraveled from there. Within a month, his visitation was revoked. The judge was swift, the ruling clear. Claire sat in the courtroom, Eliza's small hand in hers, and felt the knot in her chest begin to uncoil. But the moment that truly changed everything didn't come in court or under fluorescent lights. It came on a Tuesday afternoon in October. Claire was making grilled cheese. Eliza was sitting on the floor, lining up her crayons in color order. The air smelled like burnt cheddar and autumn rain. Claire bent to slice the sandwich, and Eliza looked up. "Mom?" Claire froze. It wasn't mommy. It wasn't a plea. It was a statement. She turned slowly. "Yeah, sweetheart?" Eliza smiled. A real smile. "I like it here." Claire knelt beside her, suddenly breathless. "I'm glad you do." "I want to stay forever," Eliza said, and wrapped her arms around Claire's waist. Claire buried her face in Eliza's hair and finally let herself believe it. Not that she was ready, not that she was perfect, but that she was enough. A year passed, then another. Eliza thrived. She laughed more, spoke more, danced barefoot through the living room, and insisted on pancakes every Saturday. She still hummed sometimes, and it still broke Claire's heart in all the right ways. And on the anniversary of the day they met, the day with the freezer aisle and the unicorn sweatshirt and the impossible question, Claire took Eliza to the park where it had all begun. They sat on a bench, the wind tugging gently at their hair. "Do you remember?" Claire asked. Eliza nodded. "I saw you walking, and I thought, that's her." "Her?" "My mom," Eliza said simply. "You just didn't know yet." Claire swallowed hard. "Why me?" Eliza didn't hesitate. "Because you looked like home." Claire reached over and held her daughter's hand, really held it, and this time she didn't let go. What part of this story touched you the most, and why? Comment 100 if this story moved you. Let us know what country you're watching from. Share this story with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Thank you for watching Life Stories.